Hey, welcome to another episode of Bitcoining. Again, my name is Fong Chua, I'll be your host for today. And also, of course, I'm joined by our amazing co-hosts, Chan and Shin. And we're here talking about crypto, Bitcoin, investing, real estate, all that great stuff. So, welcome back, guys.
Hey, Fong.
Hey, Vaughn, good to be here.
Hey, how have the two of you been?
It's
I've heard
busy in
you've
the
been
real
busy
estate
with
market,
uh,
busy
with,
with Bitcoin. Yeah.
with speaking events and investing and whatnot. But before we get into the meaty greedy stuff, Sheen. What are we looking at? What's the forecast? What's been going on with Bitcoin?
Bitcoin has been on its normal roller coaster. I can't remember exactly where it was last time when we spoke, but there was a point where it was down to $52,000 from a high of 73,000, and all of the scared people come out and say, "Oh, Bitcoin's going down to 15,000 or 20,000 or 40,000, whatever it was. Wait to buy it," and it never made it there. And then as it goes up, everyone says, "Ah, this is the new high. It's going to go back up to $100,000 within the next few weeks," and of course, it doesn't go there either. So it goes up, it goes down. It's not at its highest point yet, and so that has people worried, but it's a lot higher than it was 2 weeks ago. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. It's all relative to manage your own expectations. Bitcoin is doing Bitcoin things. It is still going up. The stock market is still going up. So although the election looming probably has a little bit of people worried as to who's going to get in because it still seems like a pretty close race. Um, Markets are still going up. So nothing has changed in terms of should you buy, should you DCA in? I don't think anything has changed there. Just keep doing the normal thing and don't watch the market every day, and you won't be as stressed out as the people that are.
Mm. What would you say attributed to the lows of 50 some and the highs of 73s?
There was fear. People were thinking that the economy was going to crash at some point, and there's a lot of economic indicators as to why things are not looking so good. But then when it didn't happen, people were like, oh, okay, well maybe, you could maybe it will still go up, and then sentiment change. I like to watch the fear and greed index actually more than anything because you kind of get a better taste of what people are worried about, and people tend to overreact. So when they set the low of fears, it's probably a good time to buy. And when you get to the greed zone and things are really high, maybe it's good to take a little bit of profit. Those kind of ideas. If you're trading, if you're not long term, and you do the DCA strategy, it's so much easier and so much less stressful.
What would you say the fear index is right now? What does it say?
It went up to not quite greed, but it was looking good when Bitcoin started shooting up, went up to almost 69,000 or just over 69,000, and it's come back down to 67,000. And even that little bit has people going back down to sort of neutral range. They're getting more. I think people are faster to get scared than they are to get greedy at this point, which kind of makes sense for where we are in the market.
Mm. Has there been any updates with regards to banks' involvement and that transaction?
The bill for the banks I don't think has gone through yet, but banks are still talking. It's all news, right? So it's all rumors. So until there's something really official that comes out and says, all these big banks are starting to do this, once one does it, it's kind of ETF. Once one gets approved to do it, they will all want to be doing it. So until that's totally official, hard to say. But the speculation will come out ahead of time. The price will shoot up based off or down based off speculation ahead of time. So it's very difficult to buy the news in a sense and get ahead of it. But just know that what happens is it's going to be like it's a long process. So once that is approved, those are the things to look for to say, well, now long term, Bitcoin's going to be around for a while.
Mhm.
It's just one of those other, those facts that give people the stability that Bitcoin is going to be a solid investment.
Mhm. Now, when we're 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away from the election, what would you say people should do to kind of prep for that, regardless of what the outcome is? How do people prep for that? And if people were doing the dollar cost average strategy, does it really matter?
Yeah, if it was 20 years ago, politics is always changing, right? But I think what people are worried about this time with the election is not necessarily who wins. That does make a big difference, obviously, but just that the shenanigans that go along are more overblown. Whether or not they're true, I can't say. But people are talking about different versions of cheating or manipulation of the election, and I think that scares people probably more in terms of is the is the political landscape stable? And it's no, because people don't like the non-transparency in certain things, right? And because of the internet, people can blast out anything and things get exposed a lot faster these days and age. So I think it's when the election happens, regardless of who wins, the other side is not going to be happy. But is there going to be civil chaos? I guess is there's a chance that one side does assassination attempts are scary. One side getting angry, people are politically hypercharged on both sides. What kind of chaos could ensue depending on who comes out. I think that's what would scare the markets more than either candidate winning. I think both candidates have kind of said, maybe crypto is something to look at. Donald Trump is definitely more pro crypto by what he said, but who knows which way it's going to go if Kamala Harris gets, in. So
Cool. So lots of exciting stuff to come in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how that affects the crypto environment, and we'll be up to date with all that kind of stuff in our next episode, I guess. Um, with all that being said, one of the most important things that we all need to do is educate ourselves with regards to crypto, with regards to investing, the mindset that goes around with it, whether it's real estate or, like I said, crypto or stocks and whatnot. And I know Chan goes around and teaches a lot of people and shares a lot of stories. And congratulations, you were asked to be at one event recently, and you were able to inspire, motivate, and teach a lot of people with regards to this area. How did that event come about, and also how was it?
Yeah, we had one just the other night, a couple nights ago. It was a little workshop, and it came about when someone had asked, how does that relate to real estate and with Bitcoin transactions, and can you do just a little bit of an educational workshop? Um, so it was that opportunity that I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to talk about the technical details of Bitcoin and all that. So I can only tell about my reasons why and my journey that started. And so it was really a storytelling workshop, but very educational. So it was well received. And I think I definitely will do more of those educational workshops for sure.
And I'm sure with if more of those dates come out, we'll share that on here for everybody to join in. But
Yeah.
for those people who missed the workshop that you just recently did, share with us some of the highlights of some of your topics and also some of the other topics that were shared around, and any like golden nuggets that people could take away from that event that people have missed.
Yeah, the whole event was about money secrets. And, you know, in this day and age, it seems like everyone, whether you're a mortgage broker, an accountant, another professional, or working just really hard in your, corporate job, the trend and the theme is like, how do we get ahead? How do we start, um, acquiring assets, whether it's real estate or some precious metals, and how do you stay ahead of the game? And so that was the whole seminar. It was about, you know, money secrets and just getting some tips about how to stay relevant and stay ahead. And so three of the topics we talked about was real estate investing. My one of my real estate investing partners, Masuk Yu, she talked about the rent to own strategy, which is lease options. Um, it's just one of the strategies that Shin and I did over the years when we did real estate investing, among many others. And you're familiar with that too, Fong. And then we also had a speaking topic from Marina uh, about the tax sheltering part, using insurance as a tax shelter. So she spoke about that. And then my topic was about Bitcoin, how I see it as digital gold and property. So those were the three main topics. And then with what I talked about was really my journey, how it started. And um, from someone who lived in communism, escaping with little bits of gold, wearing that gold and some money sewn into her clothes, um, fled to Thailand, where my dad's from, and that was her first day of freedom. And so most people don't know what communism feels like, not having control. Like we couldn't even kill like a flock of our chickens just to eat. And so I told that story, and then how we came to Canada, and all my parents did was save um, all their hard-earned dollars in cash, and they would literally hide it in their mattress. And but we know in this economy, you can't just save your money um, because it's not gonna, you know, get you ahead. So at a young age of 21, I told the story of how I got into my first deal in real estate, and I bought my first real estate deal just because I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, assets versus liabilities. Assets was something that put money in your pocket, and liabilities took money out of your pocket. So that all related to Bitcoin, where we discovered that in 2014. And that was a way of, accumulating that gold in digitally. And imagine if my parents had something like that when we fled Laos. And so I told that story of that, and now with the real estate, how that becomes like digital property, and how my kids could get into it. And, this is something that, you don't need a large down payment for. You don't need a lot of joint venture partners like our real estate investments. Um, it just levels the playing field. And I just believe this is the future. And Sheen said it's transparent, like it's open, it's here to stay. And the formula is really easy, like dollar cost average, accumulate a little bit, set it and forget it. And then, you know, sure, work hard in your jobs and just, keep doing that and buy a little bit of other assets like real estate properties.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on that. And obviously, we're all looking forward to the next one that you're going to be doing. And I'm sure if anybody is interested, reach out to Chan. She'll be able to give you more information about that. And also, who else could they contact with regards to future events?
Well, they can go right in the meetup. It's Money Secrets Success Meetup. Yeah, meetup.com.
Cool. Now, I liked how you mentioned the fact that the what's your entry level of getting into crypto and Bitcoin is actually very, very low compared to real estate. In real estate, if you want to invest in real estate, you either come up with the down payment yourself, or you find money partners, or you find joint venture partners and all that kind of stuff, and you need a fairly large sum of money to actually secure a property to start investing and flipping and all that kind of stuff. And most people don't realize that when it comes to Bitcoin, you really don't need to come in with 70 grand and buy the Bitcoin. You could actually buy like small chunks of it. Explain to us again, how does that actually work? How does one break apart Bitcoin and sell portions of it or buy portions of it? And then also the advantage of it being in smaller portions for people to get in.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage. Like it's not a lot of people know, but even I've had my own family say, "Oh, it's just too late to get into Bitcoin now. Look at the price. It's, 90 some thousand dollars Canadian." And so it discourages people to look at the full price of one Bitcoin compared to when we started. But really, it's broken into 100 million units, and we call them Satoshis. Um, so sats for short. And so you can literally buy, you know, a little unit, a one unit. Um, so yeah, that again, that's where you can say, hey, I can buy pennies of this $100. I can start saving pennies, and it becomes that game of compounded money and compound interest. It's like, hey, if I can buy a penny today, double that penny, and then double that and double that, you know, there's an interesting formula or a calculator you can go to. It's btcdca dot com, and it shows like if you had saved in Bitcoin for this, year, how much would it had been gone up in value? depending on how much you saved in weekly. Like if you allocated $10 weekly, how much would it be now in value? So it's being consistent, it's being patient. And the beauty of this digital property is that unlike real estate, like there's no headaches. I don't have tenants to worry about. I don't have to market to get, my rental ads. I don't have to screen any tenants. I don't have maintenance. It's really the lowest form of property without headaches. And again, like my kids could start buying Bitcoin. It's just take some education to know the security risk and learning how to keep your Bitcoin safe. Because, we talked about in the last episode how you can easily get scammed and, put into third party and not knowing your wallets and things like that. So um, it is easy to acquire it. Um, One of the easiest ways to get your digital gold, have property, but it's just securing it. I feel it can be the challenge.
And I think like we had a few conversations about that in previous episodes about the wallets, how to store it, which kind of wallets to get and whatnot. Now, I know another advantage of crypto and Bitcoin is the convenience of it. I remember in real estate, receiving checks and putting those checks into deposits and waiting for those checks to go through. And then the moment they go, oh, I can e-transfer rent? Great. Now I could just click a button and
Right?
go right through. But then even that has lots of stuff that you need to deal with, setting up the accounts, making sure that you're in the same cities and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And you've just recently gone through a scenario where Bitcoin made it even easier for you to do transactions and even easier for you to work with individuals like across the world. Share with us that scenario and also that how that process went.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I mean, when you're talking about just like efficiency, like we're so busy. We just, when we had tenants and they didn't even have an email transfer or we had to set up EFTs, we were getting checks. It just made it easy when you had an e-transfer. It just would be so fast. But when you're talking about, getting things paid, I had my editors from Colombia um, do some editing on a PowerPoint and, wanted to pay their invoice. It was like, oh, can I e-transfer you guys? I wanted to pay that. And so they're from Colombia. They're not from Canada. So they're like, sorry, ma'am, we don't have a Canadian account. Let's get it set up. So it took a couple days to get it set up, the bank account. And then, I said, and they said, here's the transaction. You just have to, you know, get all the accounts. And I said, no, it's actually an e-transfer. I just need your email. And then it's done. And it was just so confusing that I said, okay, well, obviously you guys are in Bitcoin, so you must take sats, like using the Lightning Network, which is a super fast transaction. And so they said, yes, of course we do. And that's what we did. And it was a matter of seconds, not even a minute. It was done and it was paid.
Mhm.
So it was like you're talking about fiat dollar terms was probably like, less than $50
Mhm.
of the transaction. So what is that in sats?
Very, very cool. Now, can I would assume that could be easily set up with regards to real estate as well. Like if you wanted to
Absolutely.
receive rent in Bitcoin or crypto, you could get that set up. How would you get that set up and how would you protect yourself from from a renter who's going to pay you in Bitcoin? How do you make sure that's going to be a good transaction or a good strategy for that to be set up?
Yeah, maybe next time we can get into the nuts and bolts of that. But if you have a company, you could have your website, you could have there's a way, there's even on the Phoenix wallet using Lightning, you can actually send an invoice to the recipient so that they pay that in sats. So it automatically gives you like an invoice setup and it sends it to, who needs to pay that invoice if you're the merchant or you're the property owner.
Mhm.
So there's ways to do that for sure. They just need to set up the wallet. So two wallets, they need a receiving and a sending address.
Mhm.
It's so cool because I just joined a real estate brokerage in Canada. We're one of the most innovative leading boutique brokerages, Greater Property Group. And when you're talking about getting paid, like in speed, like I just had a listing last week on Tuesday that just listed. And before we even put a sign on the lawn, it was sold. Sight unseen, the buyer's sitting in New York trying to put an offer in cash, no conditions, sight unseen. And the next day they had to put a deposit. And because our brokerage um, encourages the deposit not as a draft, but as an e-transfer as well, like, you know, you can send an e-transfer and, it's fast. So that's the next step is like accepting sats or accepting Bitcoin. And so yeah, it was like a $20,000 deposit. How do we send that quickly? And so there's, companies like Greater Property Group are looking at ways to, you know, do these things more efficiently and help our clients. This is just the future for our next generation.
Awesome. Because yeah, I've been through those scenarios where having a bank draft done, one, you have to pay the fees for a bank draft. Two, you have to wait for that bank draft to approve. If you want it to be approved faster, you have to go and make phone calls and get approval and then get confirmation. And man, that process is so frustrating sometimes because depending on the time of the day or day of the week, that person's not working or that person's on vacation and all that kind of stuff. It's just very, very frustrating. And then when we deal with overseas or across country transactions, there's like PayPal, there's Stripe, there's all these other programs that you could do like credit card transactions and whatnot, but there's also the fees that would be involved with that, and also the timeline, right? Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 days before it gets confirmed, before it gets to the account, and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to the crypto space, you already alluded to the fact that it's like instant. It's very fast. It gets right into your wallet. What are some of the transaction fees or conversion rates that you might actually be experiencing,
In
if
regards
any?
to even, yeah, not very much. In regards to that last transaction, just in Lightning, um, it was very minimal, like a few dollars. So yeah, it's just not only fast, efficient, borderless, anywhere in the world. It's open 24/7. Um, it's very inexpensive. So I, one of the slides in my PowerPoint that I talked about from the workshop was relating to when the adoption of Bitcoin, where we are at right now compared to the internet adoption. And there was a graph showing that internet adoption, like in 1999, where we are with the internet, is where we are kind of last year with Bitcoin adoption. So imagine like when we heard about the internet or when Google was starting to come out in 1999. And I remember even a friend said, "Hey, you should try to Google this." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? A noodle of something?" Like it sounded such a funny word that I'm like, there's no way this company would stick around for a search engine. So, and it was supposed to be a search engine. And that was Google back when I think around 2000, 2000. Maybe Shin would know better. But literally, that is where we are in the adoption of Bitcoin. So we have a long way to go. We have a decade of trying to accumulate and dollar cost average into it weekly, monthly, so that we can eventually, like Sheen said, talking about the banks, how we can borrow against it and leverage that.
Awesome. Any comments from you, Shane? Any things that you wanted to add?
Well, you guys had a lot of good topics there. I think it goes back to once the banks get involved, it'll make all that whole transaction a lot more seamless. There still is a problem converting Bitcoin into dollars. Like when you want to pay your mortgage, for example, with rent, say the tenant send you Bitcoin, you still have to have some way of converting that into dollars to pay your mortgage, unless the bank were to take Bitcoin, which
Mhm.
maybe they will do too. So there's still those they come on and off ramps between the fiat currency system and crypto that need to be ironed out. And once the banks get involved, that'll all be seamless. So it'll be like you said, another form of transactions that you can send anywhere in the world instantly. There's a cost to it, like you said, like there's a fee, but if it's not a dollar, if it's $5, right? Would you rather pay $5 to have an instant, or would you rather pay $10 to get a bank draft and try to send that and do a money transfer across the world and have to wait 48 hours for it to clear and the headaches of all that? The Bitcoin network makes trust instant. Everything is accountable and it can be done way faster. So you pay for the convenience. I think people would be willing to pay for convenience. It opens up transactions around the world. It opens up questions about money laundering around the world too. So that's probably one of the concerns the banking industry has to figure out is how do you manage that and ensure that money laundering isn't occurring. Yeah, I mean, technology will keep pushing things forward. It'll make our lives better. There's just, the government's job is to make sure that it's safe and protect their own interests and the country's interests. So there's going to be some red tape involved and the regulation involved. And that's one of the key words people always talk about with crypto spaces. Crypto was initially unregulated. It was the Wild West, rife with scams, still scams to this day. The government at some point needs to say, okay, well, this is here to stay. Here's how we're going to regulate it to make sure that it's as safe as possible. And we have all these checks and balances in place. And then it's open to the world to use or open to the country to use. And at that point, it's not like people will say, I have to get into crypto. It's like they will start using it without even knowing it. It's like using gift cards at Starbucks or McDonald's. It's like you go online and you want to do something, like, oh, you know what? Let's go to my bank, do a little transfer here with my credit card, and all of a sudden I bought, $50 worth of this crypto and I used it to play this game or to shop online on this website. It'll be seamless. No one will even know that they're using the whole crypto network in the background, and it'll just be there. It'll be part of your day-to-day life. And that's what's coming. Just like the internet. People don't care how the internet works. They just know that it's there. They click on a button and it's doing things for them. They don't need to know routing and networking and HTTP and Java and all the stuff that goes on in the background. Like crypto today, like you don't need to know how it works. You just need to know that, you're using it. It makes your life better. And that's what people want.
And I like how you put it in that perspective because lots of people are going, well, how does it work? I don't really understand this part. I don't understand that part. But if you really start asking the questions, you truly understand how everything else works. Like today,
Exactly.
I'm still like perplexed with regards that computers are dealt with zeros and ones, and I'm like that completely blows my mind. So, anyways, I don't ask how it works. Great. I would also like to stress the fact that imagine for everybody out there, imagine if you can't do e-transfers right now. Think back to the very first time you've done an e-transfer, first time you accepted or sent an e-transfer, how easy that was. And then also how frustrating it is right now if somebody doesn't accept an e-transfer. Well, be that person at the forefront. We know this is going to come eventually in some shape or form. We know that more and more people is going to adapt this. So therefore, like start looking into it, start getting it set up, doing the dollar cost average with small amounts, at least get into the arena of how all this stuff happens and how this stuff starts so that you can start doing these transfers with speed, efficiency, and comfort, so that you're not that person who goes, okay, wait, I can't do that now. I need to get it set up and all that kind of stuff. Be the person who's able to show people how to do it because it's already set up. So, once again, thank you for the both of you. Any other comments that you would like to share today before we wrap up?
Yeah. Oh, that was great. That was great. Thank you.
No.
No, nothing more to share here, Fong. I think you covered everything. That was really good.
Awesome. Well, once again, we look forward to seeing more events coming from Chen. And if anybody has any questions with regards to future events, future talks, or any other questions for Shin and Chen with regards to crypto, investing, real estate, let us know. Reach out to them. And remember, until next time, when you are Bitcoining, you are shaping tomorrow's economy. We'll all see you later.
Bye, Fong. Thanks.
Oh.